Welcome to the I'm Such a Pisces podcast. We're two friends taking an explorative journey into all things astrology and a little woo. I'm Christine. I'm a creative, intuitive counselor and coach, and astrology enthusiast. We Pisces like to wear all the hats. You can find me on IG at The Dreamy Piscean.
And I'm Shelby. I am a licensed social worker, a big feelings person, and a light skeptic. Here to learn all the astrological things. You can find me on Twitter at Shelby Tweeting, and being a Cancer rising on Instagram at Shelby Cooking Things. Welcome to our show.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the I'm Such a Pisces podcast. My name is Christine.
And I'm Shelby.
Welcome to, this is a Shoot the Shit episode. This is our STS. So, what better way to start it with a random song? I wish I would have played the whole clip because, you know, it gets even better. But if you don't know Cheska Lee,
she's so good. She's
check
so
the girl
good.
out. Like, she just, you know.
Well, and you know what?
That song is in my head like
What
for
a
a couple weeks now.
Yeah, because I saw the video that you posted that, there was, Christine posted a clip of, I think, of Bradley Cooper talking about his dad as a child, and he was like, yeah, he just used to walk around naked all the time. And it's like, sir, Bradley Cooper, we did not need to know that. Although you listeners of this podcast are probably like, you know, Shelby, occasionally we would like to know less about you as well. Because I know I love to overshare from time to time. It's the Pisces Gemini moon combo. Sometimes the word vomit just comes right on out.
We're podcasting. You know, what are we going to talk about? You know, I mean, topics and ourselves. You know? So, you know, I love that. And that was her repost. That was that whole clip. She had done that and then recorded this little song funny. That was great. I was like, I love this song, actually.
It's a great mantra to have. I think about that as a song that plays frequently in my head at work especially.
Absolutely.
If I'm listening to a podcast, I'm probably opting into this information. Yes. Sorry, y'all. You've opted in. You've checked yes on this box that you want to know more about me and Christine. But sometimes I'm at work and sometimes people say things to me and I'm like, you know what? I really did not need to know that about you.
I would like to know less.
I would like to know less about you because I still have to work with you every day. Exactly. I would like to know far less, please.
Far less. I mean, that often at work, I experience these moments, right? Like, yeah. Less about that. Even the children I work with, less about those
Even
things.
The children, please tell me less.
About booties jiggling. Less about...
Man, I don't need to know everything. I mean, if we hang out outside of work, it's a little bit of a different thing. But if we're in a staff meeting or if we're, you know, I don't need to know all of the business. Yeah.
You don't need to know all your trauma.
And we're coworkers. Of course I know all your trauma. And I don't actually need to know any of it.
That's the next video. We're coworkers.
We're coworkers. Oh my God. We could probably make one of those of like, we're coworkers, but also we're friends. We're coworkers that are friends outside of work. Like, of course we give each other the eyes in meetings. Like, the way that I watched Christine just so politely, so many times, just sitting across the table in a staff meeting, just nodding and smiling, but you see it in the eyes. You know.
I was trying to do the
face. We both just heard that. Mm-hmm. Oh, no, we finally have a YouTube channel so people can see us making the faces.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. The eyes get a little big.
Avoiding eye contact with other people that I went, don't look at nobody, because I'll start laughing. Don't look at nobody.
You will. Okay. Yes, I understand. All right.
It burns me down.
But you know what? It's a daytime recording today, so you don't even have to work. Your girl's on spring break.
We are on spring break. Yes.
Well, not me. Well, I'm technically, technically still working today, but it worked out that I didn't have any meetings at this particular time. So we'll get back to it later today.
We'll get back to that job thing.
Yeah, totally.
Look, we're going to talk about jobs in just a minute too. We got some things to talk about jobs. Speaking of, so yeah,
okay. Jobs.
I got some things, jobs and people working them.
Jobs and people working them. That's usually how it goes. That's usually how it goes.
Well, maybe.
Not always.
We don't want to work.
Certainly not always.
I don't want to work.
Look, I'm recording a podcast on the clock right now, so yeah, I also sometimes don't want to work, and I'm also like sick as fuck today. Between the two of us, last week you and this week me, it's like, sorry about all the nasal congestion.
I passed it through the mic.
I didn't know that that's how we were transferring germs now, but like, in here up on the mic, like
just gotta back up off the mic, I guess. We really don't share the same mic. We are in two different cities and states.
I know. Sadly, we made this work. One day, maybe like this weekend. Did I tell you I'm coming to Nashville this weekend?
Is it this week? Oh,
it's this weekend.
Look, text me off the
I will.
Oh no, it's this weekend.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, we gotta make sure we get up. Yes.
Yes. It's gonna be a quick trip because I was gonna come down Friday, and then I had some stuff to do here on Friday, so it didn't work out. So I'm just gonna be there. I'm gonna get there late on Saturday. I have a tattoo appointment on Sunday, and then I'm
that's right.
bouncing out on Monday. But I would love to stop in for brunch, maybe a little smoke sesh, maybe a little, in-person content. We'll see what we can do.
We got to do it. We get a new photo together.
Our once every 6 months photo together.
I know.
Yes, I know.
We're gonna make it happen.
We will. Especially now that we've got all this new stuff rolling out. We're recording with Riverside now. Everything's like, it's new and it's just exciting. We've got a YouTube channel.
Come on, we just got all kind of new things. Look, we're in a season of newness.
Yes,
we're the North Node shining on our podcast.
Maybe.
You know what? Okay, next time we got to do the podcast synastry, or not the synastry, but the podcast chart.
Yes, start from like our first day.
Yes.
I would love that. That'd be amazing.
That'd be really cute. Yes. Okay. Do we want to check in with CoStar?
Let's see what CoStar has to say today. Kima has things to say, that's for sure.
Kima has a lot to say today.
She always has a lot to say. Ooh, okay. CoStar's still telling me happy birthday week. That's so nice of them. My birthday was 2 days ago.
Birthday week.
Yes, right. They know I'm a birthday brat. They know I love to celebrate all week.
The whole week. That's how you do it, CoStar. That's how you get a little extra coin.
Right.
The whole birthday week.
The whole week.
Okay. All right. This looks interesting.
Okay, go ahead. What do you got?
You want me to go? Okay.
Yeah.
CoStar says, prepare for the new normal.
Ooh. Okay.
Ominous. Like, what is the new normal going to be?
Ominous, but also you've really been on your shit lately of like getting work done and like, getting content out. So is that the new normal for you?
Maybe so. Hey,
maybe.
Well, it needs to be. That does need to be.
We're right. Yeah. We're both like,
I need to be on top of my stuff. Yes, absolutely. But we'll see beyond that. Okay, do's.
Mm-hmm.
Adventure.
Mm-hmm.
Hole in the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and my favorite.
Wait,
this is my favorites.
Not that kind of hole.
Well, not that kind of hole in the wall. Sorry. Hey, I wasn't even there. I wasn't even at that hole in the wall. Wasn't there. Someone else's Aries Mercury is speaking right now.
Ooh.
And it's not mine. It's not mine. The last one is my favorite, though.
Mm-hmm.
New tattoos.
Okay, it's time.
So listen, I was sketching the other day.
Oh.
Now, I don't know if my sketch is going to be the sketch that ends up on my arm, but like it'll be at least inspired.
Okay, inspired by.
I don't know if I want, we'll see. If I can refine it, maybe some point this week I can work on another version. We'll see if that is what I decide to have tattooed. Okay. Otherwise, we'll let them be inspired by my work, but a better version. But yeah, I'm thinking about this little astrology arm. Not astrology, but it's a little spacey, This little part of my sleeve. I've been thinking about it for a while. But I don't know exactly when it's gonna happen. It might not be immediately.
It might be a while. That's okay.
It might be a minute. Might be later in this summer or something. But yeah, I'm working on something I think I'm gonna really like. We're gonna put some things in there, yes. But I'm calling it my astrology arm.
I love it. Okay. Well, so, I'm still working on all these things over here. I got
Shelby's getting some new work.
Some touch-ups to do. I got some things to add. Of course, my mom is yet again disappointed in me, but sorry. Oh, no. She's always like, "You're not getting another tattoo, are you?" I'm like, "Ma'am."
It's like, girl, it's done, girl. It's a done deal.
It's all right. This whole arm is covered now, so you gotta just let it happen.
It is what it is.
Hate to break it to you, I'm gonna keep getting them.
It's like, this arm will not be able to be donated to science.
Unfortunately.
What is it? Can you not give blood if you have tattoos? Is that
I think
or
no,
something?
I think you can still give blood.
Maybe it is blood. You just can't
donate to science. Yeah.
Like
I think you might be right.
Yeah. Their skin grafts.
No skin grafts.
Like
yeah.
Yeah. Like, well, there's a tattoo on there. It's like, yeah, this person's skin had a little.
Oops.
Had a little remnant from that tattoo. Looked like a 444.
Oh, weird. All right.
Hey, at least you got some skin. All right. My downs. Okay. Scandal.
Okay, no scandal.
Ooh. Okay, stay away from that. Spit takes.
Ooh, okay.
What is a spit take?
That's like when you laugh too hard and you spit out your water or whatever. Like, I almost did a spit take. Like, you take a drink, someone makes you laugh, and you're like, that's a spit take.
Don't drink while we're talking. All right.
Right.
And bells and whistles. No bells and whistles.
No bells and whistles. Okay.
Do you know me?
There's going to be bells and whistles.
There's going to be bells and whistles?
Right.
In my Taurus rising.
Jingle jangling.
We talked about it.
We're into it, okay?
No bells and whistles. All right. Well, that's what they're saying. I'm going with the new tattoos, though. I'm here for that.
That one we will absolutely pay attention to. That one.
Take what you want. Is it take what you need? Take what you want. Take what you
take what you need. Yeah.
Leave the rest.
Take what you need and leave the rest. Exactly.
I'll take the new tattoos.
Yes, we love to see it.
All right. What is your co-star saying today?
Well, my co-star is saying
Kima and Coco are saying things.
They are saying so many things. Hopefully our new editing technology will allow that to not be quite so loud. But co-star says, don't change the subject.
Stay on topic.
So I'm going to do my best today to stay on topic, to not really, this is giving, don't avoid the hard conversation, because, it's very, very Piscean of me.
We love to avoid hard things, especially confrontations.
Right. So we're gonna stay on track. We're not gonna change that subject. And here's what else we're gonna do. We're going to daydream.
Oh,
love it. Done deal.
Right.
We're gonna go to the art store.
Yes.
And we're gonna have an itemized list. And now, actually, I really love an itemized list.
When I go to the art store, it's a must.
Because otherwise, you spend all of your money
that we didn't have to spend anyway.
Exactly.
I think I spent more than I was supposed to.
We need that itemized list desperately.
Yes.
What we're not going to do this week is sepia filters.
Okay.
So none of those.
It's very specific. Okay.
It's good because I'm very clean faced today. So we're just what you see is what you get.
Right.
We're not going to force it. Nobody likes to force it. Nobody wants that.
No one wants to force it.
And we're not going to do chewed pencils.
Sounds like anxiety.
It does. So yeah, none of that. None of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's meditation or
solid co-star today. It's good lessons for me. Things I need to hear.
Okay.
I've had some really good ones this week. I feel like they really pull out all the stops on your birthday week with co-star.
Yeah. I've had some pretty interesting ones myself lately. And so I'm like, okay, I've been saving them, screenshotting them.
Mm-hmm. Yes, same.
Yes.
I had the one I had on my birthday said like, keep dreaming, keep imagining. And I was like, oh, that's nice.
Yes, I saw that. I was like, that's very nice for your birthday. Like, just very hopeful.
Yeah.
Very optimistic energy. That's how we want to feel when we're on birthday, Yeah.
I'm very excited for us to pull up that synastry chart later and also my solar return chart for the year so I can see what I should be dreaming and imagining about for the next year. Sounds like it's going to be something interesting, to say the least.
When I was looking at it, girl, I was like, well, all right. There were some things. There are some things happening on this chart, okay? There are some things happening.
Scary.
Well, not scary, but just like,
Interesting.
I'll be interested to see how all that plays out.
Ooh, same here.
I know I'm going to hear about it.
You sure will, because what are we going to do? We're going to have this podcast.
We're going to be talking about it.
Definitely going to be talking about it.
I'll be interested to see it. It's like, all right, that's all right,
girl. Well,
all right.
Shall we take a quick break and then maybe we come back with some of our relatable content?
Yes, let's do it.
All right. Hey, y'all. Welcome back to the I'm Such a Pisces podcast. I think it's time for some true, relatable, shoot the shit content, and I'm ready for it.
Yeah. It's Pisces season, and so we're just like a mixed bag. Like last week's stoner scopes, I don't know if we ever figured out it was just like a mixed bag.
It's just a little of everything.
Just like Pisces.
So yeah, we're going on our tangents today. We've got some interesting questions. We've got some interesting research. Yeah, we've got some stuff.
All the random things that have come up. So, okay, the first thing I wanted to ask, this is just, again, some of my high thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And
we love a high thought.
Just high ponderings. So I wanted to know, do you think that certain signs like an indica dominant strain versus a sativa dominant strain better? Do you think it's like a sign energy thing that could be at work? What do you think?
I 100% I think yes. Although I do think some people's like the entirety of their chart probably has a big influence, because I am a Pisces and I normally would, if I had to guess, I would think that Pisces would be like a very indica dominant sign. They just want to chill. But at the same time, I personally like a more sativa dominant. So I don't know if that is, maybe it's because like I think Pisces as a sign is just an indica, like Pisces is an indica. Like if it takes nothing for me to lay in the couch already. So if I'm going to smoke something, I don't need more of that because I'm already ready to do it at any second. You know what I'm saying? But then I think of like a Virgo, a Capricorn, maybe even a Sag, probably all like a nice upper, like a get shit done kind of vibe.
Yes, because at least Capricorn and Virgo don't want to lose the ability to get shit done.
Exactly. Literally never. Literally never.
I can't work? Oh, no, that's not going to work for me. I need something I can work on.
That not working is not going to work for me.
That's like, no. You want me to just be lazy? No.
It's not going to happen. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that there is an energy one way or the other?
So, okay, I'll explain. So I thought about this because we've talked about kind of off mic.
Mm-hmm.
One of my friends that I smoke with
Mm-hmm.
enjoys backwoods, right? And so
Yes.
we smoke backwoods together.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a different smoke. I'm a joint
Mm-hmm.
girl, like
Yes.
my little organic hemp papers,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So it's a very clean, just the plants,
Yep.
kind
Yep.
of smoke.
Mm-hmm.
And so smoking tobacco paper is different. Even like smoking backwoods for me, I feel like in smoking like a blunt,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
whatever your brand of choice as far
Yeah,
as
like a White
that
Owl, a
kind of tobacco.
Swisher,
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
whatever your preference
Just still a
is.
little bit of a different smoke. So like I
Mm-hmm.
feel like when we smoke the backwoods, I feel much more of a heady high.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
it's like so much that I can't smoke as much because
Yeah.
it's like so much up in my head.
Yep.
Um
Yeah.
and so I was like, I wonder if this is just like, because of course my friend is an Aquarius, so air sign, so I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I wonder if this is just, it's like a sign
Yeah,
energy thing.
this
Like,
shit where you're all up in your own head, like,
yeah. And
yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's a lot for me. I like to be in my body.
Mhm. Yes, yes. I too, I like to be in my body as well, but occasionally it's like it's you have to get the right balance, right? Because if you're
Yeah.
too in your
Yeah.
head, if I'm too in my head, then it's like, oh, I'm anxious. I have to sit down. Like,
Uh-huh.
you
Uh-huh.
know, but then if I'm too in my body, I sit down and I don't get up.
And you don't
Like,
get up.
it's just it's
Yes.
hard. It's something right in the middle of both is ideal.
Balance.
Yeah, a
Yes.
balance.
Yes. We're all trying
Balance.
to find that balance strain for us.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the right balance. Yeah.
But then
Yeah. So I just,
I know so my best friend took my she's Taurus.
uh-huh.
She also has that Virgo moon. And
Uh-huh.
so she'll smoke an indica and still get shit done. And I'm like, how? Like she'll smoke an
Uh-huh.
entire fucking blunt, a whole J or whatever, and then she'll just be like, all right, I'm gonna do a project. And I'm like,
Yes.
I cannot. I can't. Like, yeah. So maybe
See, I
that's
feel like
that.
that. And maybe that's more of my Taurus energy. It's like I will smoke and I will have
Mhm.
all the energy in the world. I'm out in here dancing, getting stuff done.
Yeah.
We working on things,
Yeah.
getting productive. Like that's how
Yeah.
I function.
Right. Right. It's
But a
helpful.
sativa will have me like
I
it'll just I'm just too,
paralyzed.
yeah, like it's not a body paralyzed, but it's like a
Mhm.
mind, and like
Yeah.
what is going on? Like, I'm just too much in my head and I kind of feel a little
Yeah.
dizzy. So I'm
Yep.
like, let me just sit down for a minute. Like,
Now, that's interesting because I think, again, I do like a sativa because I do think it helps me get things done.
mm-hmm.
But I sometimes, I think it's like some people self medicate because they have like ADHD and so they smoke and then it
Yeah.
helps them get things done.
Yeah.
Not to say that I don't think you have ADHD. I know
Well,
some
I
people
think we've
feel that
said that
way.
I do think I have ADHD.
That's fair.
I
So,
do
and
think I have it.
I really don't think that I have it,
Uh-huh.
but sometimes if I smoke a sativa that's too heady, I do too many things that like I find myself walking around the house like I have the laundry basket in my hand and then I'm like I see something in the living room and then I just drop it and I'm like, "Oh, I got to do this real quick." And I just like whatever I see right in front of me is the thing that I'm doing and then like 20
Yeah.
minutes later I'll be like, "Oh shit, I forgot this is
Oh
here."
yeah.
And that only happens to me when I'm like really off of a very heady sativa. So
Okay.
maybe something to be said for that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, listeners, watchers, weigh in, let us know your thoughts
What are
because
your
I'm very
thoughts?
curious about it. Because, yeah,
Mhm.
I'm very functional. Now, there are some, you can get a real heavy dominant like
Mhm.
indica, right?
Totally.
That, put anybody down, you know,
Indica
even the
counts.
workhorses of us, right? But,
Yes.
like, so it's like, I think there, obviously all of these things, there are levels and
Mhm.
different strains affect people differently and our body
Exactly.
chemistries and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting. I'm like, I wonder if he just like, enjoys more of that feeling is that
Mhm.
maybe that's an air energy. And then, I thought about you and I know that, you like a sativa
Mhm.
dominant. And so I'm like, she's got that Gemini, that Aquarius going on
Mhm.
too. So I'm like,
Yeah.
wonder if there's something to that.
Interesting. It's a good question to ask. I'm going to have to start doing some more research, especially now that I live in a place where I can like have access to, I can just buy weed wherever. Mm-hmm. Although I can't really smoke right this particular minute, but it just kind of depends.
You're better than me because I just continued.
Well, like, I did last night and it hurts. Terrible. And now I'm like, okay, I gotta lay off of this.
Just gotta put it down for a minute.
So
it's like me, the tea and the joint.
Yes, I've got the throat coat tea. Yeah, but this is helping my mind feel better.
What's that, girl? I will be like with the bottle of honey, like turning it up.
Look,
just squirting it down.
Next time I
throats,
squirting it right down your throat.
But I do it. I literally do. It's
I might go get
personal bottle of honey.
Yeah,
okay. Like,
yeah, you're allowed
with everyone.
No, you're allowed to do that. I might have to go try that on our next break. Honestly.
I mean, honey is it's the one, you know. So it's like, look, let's skip the other stuff. Just squirt the honey down.
Look,
throat coat.
Throat coat. Throat coat. All right. So what other questions we have on the relatable content this week?
Okay, so on a whole nother topic, right? Mm-hmm. So I saw this article. It's probably actually a couple weeks ago now, and I just had saved it because I'm like, this is just interesting. So the article, like the headline was like, Gen Z is like ditching their 9-to-5 jobs, right? They're just like, oh, this is too much. Like this 40-hour work week, these 9-to-5 jobs. I don't have time to have a life.
Yeah.
That's the complaints. And I'm like,
that's fair. I get it.
Welcome.
Right. That's what we all been doing this whole time. Here.
Yeah. We kept trying to tell y'all, don't grow up too fast because this is trash over here. I tried to tell you, but now you're here and you see for yourself it's trash. Right. But so there was a TikTok video, I guess, of there's a girl and she was, you know, just kind of crying about like literally how she doesn't have time to do anything. Like she doesn't have time to see her friends and, you know, live a life. Like she's like, I barely have time to go to the gym. Like by the time I get off work, and I guess she lives in New York because it was talking about the transit getting home commute, or whatnot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so by the time she gets home, I mean, it's like dinner and bed.
That's it.
Like,
that's
you know,
it. That's really all you have time for. Yeah.
Yeah. That's about it. So, I think I've heard this commentary before with this whole the Gen Z, and like, you know, with the 40-hour work week, you know, we talked, this is 9-to-5, we're talking about the 40, you know, it's all kind of tied together. But, you know, I'm like, yes, come through. Like, let's keep this conversation going. I think, you know, I believe the children are the future. I know Gen Z are not children.
Right. They're all adults at this point. Yeah. Almost. Yeah.
Some, you know, some of them are still kids, but, you know, we do have some that are adults now. But, you know, hey, the youth are the people that move these movements through, right? Like, if anybody can get this done for us, it's Gen Z. Like, I'm putting my faith in Gen Z. Like, let's change this shit up. We don't want to work 40 hours. We don't want to work 9-to-5.
Right.
Let's move it on down. Why are we working so much?
Look,
who is it benefiting?
But then it's benefiting the boomers who are all now who have been doing that the whole time, who've been torturing everybody and complaining about how young people don't want to work. And then it's benefiting them. It's on our backs now at this point.
Okay.
But I also think we as millennials have to just be like, look, I'm not doing this shit anymore. Like, they're right. Like,
we have to back them.
Exactly.
You know, like, look, now we couldn't make it happen for ourselves, but let's back the Gen Z people. Like, back these people up. Like, we want to benefit too. I don't.
Right. Because I think there's so many people in our generation who are kind of in this in-between stage who are like, okay, yes, I have the 40-hour work week. I have the whatever, and I'm working really hard. And then they see people come in and they're like, I almost am like, I see how boomers got to where they were because nobody was changing shit at that point in time. Everyone was just working their asses off in these like terrible conditions. And so then when you see someone come through and just be like, nah, I'm not doing that shit. You're like, well, I had to do it. And even sometimes I know the conversation around like paying back student loans and stuff. Because I'm in the process, like I'm paying my student loans and I realized that there's all these people like younger than me who literally said, nah, I'm not doing that shit. And they literally just didn't. And I'm like, am I a sucker? Am I a sucker? Because I've been paying my shit. Like, what am I
I've been
doing?
responsible and doing what I'm supposed to do. And I'm just
Yeah.
gonna get off free. Like,
Exactly. But it's also like, look, if my shit never gets canceled and I have to pay it off, but then the person underneath me like does get their shit taken care of, I'm like, okay, great. That's great. I'm so glad that the people that come after me don't that like hopefully my future children will not have to do this shit the way that I did. But
yes.
like it's hard to maintain that attitude if you feel that. I think there's some sort of innate human sense of like fairness that people really struggle with, and they're like, "Well, I had to do
Mm-hmm.
it, so you have to do it too." It's like, "Nah, that's the fucked
Yes.
up mindset that keeps us in these places."
It's the generational curse. It's like,
Mhm.
it's that piece that, says that exactly what you're saying. Like, okay, well, I had to go through it, so you have to go through it. But also, we
Yes.
say we want things to be better for our kids. So,
Right.
like, what do we
Which
want?
is it?
Which is it? Do you want it
Mhm.
to be better, which means it's going to maybe be easier in some
Yes.
ways for them?
Yes.
We want that, right? We
Yeah.
want them to have an easier way to succeed so that they can make things better for all of us.
Mhm.
Hello? Hopefully that's the
I
way it works.
This is okay. I know I'm kind of like, again, we're off on a tangent, but this is literally like so much of what I do for work now is talk to teachers and parents. And a big part of it is like talking about the ways that we raise kids now because they see
Mm-hmm.
like gentle parenting being a thing. And
Mm-hmm.
the amount of people who are like, well, I got hit as a kid, or I got beat, or I got spanked, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And I'm like, okay, yeah, did you enjoy that? And they're like, no, but I learned something. So I'm going to do it too. I'm like, why are you holding on to this so hard? Because
Mm-hmm.
clearly, my thing is always like, you're like, I got hit and I turned out okay, but I'm just like, did you really? Because you're over here advocating to hit children, and I'm like, I mean, I get it. Like, I know some shit is
Yeah.
bad sometimes, and that like it makes sense, but like, there are other things. Like, there's other things. I don't know.
There are other things we can try. Look, that whole conversation is, it's hot right now,
Hmm.
and I understand. And I'm like, look, literally been on both sides of that
Yeah,
conversation because
yeah,
I've been the person. I don't know that I was the person advocating. Well, no, at one point I probably was. I was advocating, because I'm like, look, I mean, because I was like, look, I'm all right now, but I wasn't
yeah.
getting beat,
Sure.
but because I knew some kids that was getting beat. I
Yeah,
knew some kids that were,
that it was
the
serious.
kind of
Like,
punishment that they were getting. I was like, huh, I
yeah,
think that's kind of borderline, but but who's to say where the line is when that's the standard, right? It's
yeah.
like, where is the line? Then
Hmm.
we have to have those conversations, but those conversations also weren't really being had.
Hmm.
So, I think, as we progress, right, and we
Hmm.
learn, that's
Yeah.
the hope, that
Learn
we
better,
find
do
different
better.
ways, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's hard for people to break some of that kind of violence.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
especially, I speak, within my own community, um, that's something that was institutionalized. If you take it
Yeah.
back to slavery,
100%.
right? Like,
Right.
hello, like, that's
And
how
you,
we learned, right? Through
yeah.
punishment, through violence. That's
Yeah.
not what we want to pass down to the future. Like, we don't. That's not what we
Exactly.
want to do. Come
And I
on.
think, you can't ignore all of that stuff too. You can't just go in and be like, "Look, you can't do that anymore." Like, you have to acknowledge all the reasons
Yeah,
that we arrived here in the first
absolutely.
place, but at the same
Yeah,
time, it's like, yeah, I think it's the same of like you want to learn more and you want to do better for the generations that come after you, and I think just keeping that
yes.
in the forefront is like, yeah, of course, like they shouldn't have to deal with what you dealt with because
Right.
it's different now, and
Right, right.
yeah.
And even, I mean, taking it back to work conditions, we think about, the generation before us, our boomer generation before that, those, again, very different times, post war, like,
Yeah.
all kind of things were happening in
Yeah.
those time periods, where people were going to work
Mhm.
in that way, and
Mhm.
why everyone had to work, like why women went to work and all that
Right.
kind of stuff. Like,
Right.
there was a reason behind all of that,
Mhm.
but we're not in those conditions anymore. So
Right.
why are we still operating as if we are?
Why are we
Um,
still operating like a one person's income can like feed an entire family? Because that's straight up not
right.
what the deal is
No.
anymore. Like,
Right. Yeah.
Two people
Look
can
at
be
what we've
working full
created.
time and still struggling like a motherfucker.
Still struggle like a motherfucker.
Yeah. and especially in like, I'm thinking about like, I had a friend for a long time who both of her parents, like one of them worked at the grocery store and one of them was like worked for UPS, and that they had like a good solid middle class income. They like sent her to private school, like it was a whole thing. That's not how the world works anymore. Like you literally cannot. You can have two parents making six figures and still be struggling somehow. Like it's crazy. It's crazy out here.
Crazy.
Depending on how much their really parents paid to go to school and like where you live and
where
anyway.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's insane. And imagine just for, the people aren't even in that space, I'm like, I mean, okay. Takes it to the conversation about having children, right?
Yeah.
People talk about the younger generation, our generation, people are not having kids as early as our previous generations. Like, how can you afford it? I'm still asking, how could I afford to have a child?
I'm 32.
I don't know how some of my friends do it. I truly do not.
I'm 3 years away from having a geriatric pregnancy, and I'm still like, I cannot afford this. I literally cannot afford this. I don't own a home. I don't, I'm like, what? Yeah, I'm just paid my car off. Like,
yeah, like so many people are in a very similar position. I think part of that is what drives women to, freeze their eggs. Because I'm like, well, I'm not ready yet, but I do want to be a parent.
Right.
But I'm not in a position to afford taking care of a child, because I think part of what has happened is we've gotten very realistic about what those costs are. And we see people struggling all the time.
Yep.
Like, yeah, no, I don't think I'm not going to choose that for myself or my child.
Right.
Like, if I can help it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I don't want to bring a child into this world to suffer more. Like, obviously that's part of life, but if I know it's straight up going to be a bad situation, I'm not doing it.
I'm still struggling. If I can get it together in time, maybe.
Sure.
Maybe.
Yeah.
It's a hard maybe. But, there are other reasons, personally, my other reasons that maybe I don't necessarily want to be a parent. But,
yeah.
But money is definitely a strong first.
It's up there, for sure.
The top. But yeah, so that was just something I saw, Gen Z, hopefully, they're going to push through for us and make some changes to the system so we don't have to work all the time anymore,
Yes. We love to see it.
Not really get paid anything, working.
Right.
What's really going on?
I do have to shout out really quick because I'm very lucky. I have a 32-hour work week at work, and it is beautiful. It's yeah.
There are places they're doing it. We're having these new policies. You've got the unlimited
like PTO.
Yeah, we've seen how those things are very positive, and most people don't abuse them,
right?
Because who got time?
And
we gotta get the work done.
That's kind of where I'm at. I don't have unlimited PTO, but I do have a lot because a lot of times I don't have to take off on a Friday if I don't want to take a little weekend trip or whatever.
Yeah.
And I will put up with some bullshit because I have this space in my week. Really, it's good for the company because I'm like, sometimes I'm like, I really don't want to do this shit right now. And I'm like, you know what? I'll put up with it because I know that I've got a 3-day weekend coming up. Like, I'll be fine. I can recoup,
right.
Not to say, really, nobody should have to deal with a lot of bullshit at work, but it's part of the job. I'm a social worker. Like, it's just going to be part of it. Like, yeah.
We're just in that kind of field. There's a lot of bullshit.
Exactly.
But, yeah. So there are places that are making some changes. So there are positive strides being made.
Yeah.
But we've got a long way to go as a whole.
Long way.
Long way to go.
Yes.
So yeah. All right. So now this is our last little random section.
Oh yeah.
So I'm gonna play us a little clip from Jordan the Stallion.
you'll know that there's a side. You pick a side of the bed, and you normally do not change sides normally at all, especially with married couples. And did you actually know research suggests that psychologically speaking, humans will pick a side of the bed due to attitude towards work, personality, and income. I will tell you exactly what it said in regards to research. Research suggests that people who sleep on the left side of the bed psychologically have a more positive outlook on life. They can deal with heavy workloads. They're not easily fazed by stressful days, and they're calmer in a crisis than their counterpart, and they're more confident. People who sleep on the right side of the bed earn more money, have a less positive outlook on life, but are more prepared for worst case scenarios than their counterparts. And also, people who are claustrophobic naturally choose to sleep near the wall.
Okay, so what side of the bed do you sleep on? I just thought this was very like interesting, just like an interesting random thing that came into my timeline about.
I'm fascinated by this because Christine and I just had a brief conversation about this off mic. And I realized that now, about half the time I'm sleeping alone in my own bed, and then half the time I'm staying at my boyfriend's house. And, typically when I sleep alone, it's a, queen size bed, but I'm usually sleeping more to the right side, which is closer to the wall. And then, same thing when I'm at my boyfriend's house, I sleep on the right side. But I realized that when I was married before, I slept on the opposite side. I slept on the left side. And it just like I never even thought about it. That was just kind of like the switch and how it just happened naturally, but like it's also a very different kind of relationship. So it's like, oh, is that like yeah, how did that happen and why? Like so interesting.
Yeah. Do you associate with those traits, like the right side traits at this point, I guess?
I think a little bit more than I used to, for sure. I think before, when I was sleeping on the left side, I was definitely the more like I would have thought of myself as more like prepared for an emergency, kind of like of between the two, kind of, calm and collected in an emergency and that sort of thing. But now I'm like, it's that dynamic has switched a little bit. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So I was thinking about it. I'm like, so currently, I had sleep alone. So it is interesting that while I kind of sleep in the middle of the bed, I also sleep diagonally. And so my head kind of sleeps. Yeah. Like my head is kind of to the right, but my feet are kind of to the left. But in my last relationship, I slept on the right side. Now I will say, what I do tend to find is I'd like to sleep on the side closer to the windows. So if there's a window, and it usually, however, I don't know, it's happened this way. Usually the bed is not backed to the window. Now, for me, that's a personal choice, but in other people's spaces, I don't know. There are things about it, but I don't like the bed back to the window or the light behind me. I like to see the light come in.
Yes.
But I'm also not a blackout shade person. I'm like,
me neither.
Let the light in.
Yes.
Like,
let me wake up naturally.
As soon as it comes up.
Same.
Yes.
Same.
Like,
yes.
So, I want to see it. So I usually sleep on the side toward the windows. But it has been on the right. But I told Shelby right before we came on, the person I dated right before my ex, I slept on the left. And I'm like, now I do think in that particular relationship, kind of similarly, I was the person who was, I almost feel like I was the more serious of the two.
Yeah. Which is so funny to me now, like in hindsight. Like, yeah.
Right? And I thought really what was interesting about it was, and maybe this is similar, the other person in that relationship was a Virgo. And, I'm like, and, to my Pisces. So I'm like, am I the more serious of the two?
Yeah.
It's just kind of strange,
that is also interesting to think about because both of the people that I've been in a relationship with are Tauruses, Taurians, but presenting very differently. Like one has Pisces rising, has a Libra moon. So like we have a lot of similarities in that way in the big three. And the other one was Sag rising, Aries moon. So like very different vibes. Very different vibes. So
yes.
I don't know. It's just really interesting to see
water
how it all plays
fire
out.
versus the water or the earth. I'm sorry, the earth fire and then the earth water
air. Water, air. Yeah.
Air, water.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting dynamics for sure.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought this conversation up for sure.
Yeah. It's just been, so I was trying to, I'm trying to like zoom all the way back. I'm trying to travel back into these past relationships. Like, what side did I sleep on the bed with this person?
Right. Right. Something to continue to think about for sure.
So yeah. So that'll be probably one of our, polls,
Oh, we'll do
what side of the bed you sleep on.
What side of the bed do you sleep on? And what's your sign?
Yeah, let us know. Let's see, and then maybe we'll do the strain thing, and might not make that a public poll. I don't know. Right. We'll do it in some way. Yeah. Get on YouTube and let us know what you like to smoke. Yes. And what your sign is.
Yes.
Okay, so to the main event for the relatable content.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for this.
So we talked about this a few weeks ago. I, let people know, like, hey, there's this show on. I think we should watch it. Looks real messy. It's called Couple to Throuple. And
it is just as messy as you might expect.
It is messy boots, and we love it. We have both watched it, and we're gonna talk a little bit about it. Yes. So for anyone who doesn't know, Couple to Throuple is on Peacock. It's on Peacock. So if you want to check it out, get your Peacock subscription.
Yes,
they're fairly inexpensive.
Yeah.
But a fun show. It's a new kind of dating show. If you want a little new twist, if you want to get into, some poly lifestyle content, this is for you.
So yeah. I have so many thoughts. So the first thing that comes to mind is, so I'm sitting at dinner the other night with my friend Violet and her girlfriend Elise, and they have both previously, like, I think right now they're both monogamish, but both of them have been poly. When they started dating each other, they were poly. I think it's just like, I'm not 100% sure how that dynamic is for them right this second, but I know they both have experience being poly. And they both, like, I was telling them about the show, and they both kind of went, huh. So like, and so we talked about it a little bit, and then I talked with my other friend who also was watching it, and some of the couples, she was like, this seems like less like poly, because the percentage of people who are poly that are actually in a throuple is pretty small. Like, most of the time when you're poly, that just means that you have the freedom to date around and date other people, and then you have your primary partner, but you're not all like sharing a bed together.
Right.
And so I think both the people who I know who have experience with polyamory, and then my other friend who just happened to be watching it, were kind of like, this feels like a little bit I'm trying to think of the word, but like condensed down version, like, this is not the whole spread of polyamory.
Yes. So
it's for TV.
Sensationalized. So it's like, we have to do this in the way that is going to bring, the most kind of drama, right? Because just introducing people to the poly lifestyle where they can have this separate thing going on that the other person doesn't have to see.
Right.
Is a whole different situation, right?
Than having it right in front of you.
Easier, right? I don't want to necessarily have to watch you kissing and rubbing all up on this other person.
Right. Right.
I know it's happening, but to see it is a whole different thing.
And then we're both doing it, and then we're like, we're sharing this partner. Like,
that's a whole different kind of relationship. And so it's a very specific, like, the whole throuple thing. I think the first time I really saw, like, well, maybe not the first time, but like the first time I saw it kind of TV wise is the L Word, the new class, whatever they whatever the new version is called.
The new version of the L Word, which I have not watched, but I know people love lesbians love the L Word.
We love the L Word. But so what's interesting is, okay, get into my own business.
No.
So when my ex and I were watching the L Word together, the new version. There's a couple that became a throuple on the show. It sparked a lot of conversation between the two of us to the point where I had to discontinue watching the show with my ex, who was my partner at the time. It got a little intense because, we had some conversations about how I was open to polyamory. It was something I was interested in exploring. It wasn't something I knew that it was like, I know this is for me. It was just like, I would be interested in seeing what that would be
Pisces, like. Anything goes, okay? Right. If you're open to it, I can wrap my head around
once.
It. Sure. Maybe it won't work, but yeah.
I've certainly been in love with more than one person at the same time. So I'm like,
now we know that's true.
If we could just, make it work.
Yeah.
We could make it work. So now again, not that I was particularly interested in becoming a throuple, but it was an interesting concept, and to see it, on this show.
Yes.
And it was, and it wasn't always running smoothly on the show either.
Right. So, right. Exactly.
It was just a very interesting thing to see. And so when I saw this show, Couple to Throuple, come out, I was like, this sounds like some grade A mess. And I'm here for it.
Yep. And part of me,
I don't think these people have a clue what they get into.
Exactly. And I think I said that to you several times before. When I first started watching it, I looked and I was like, some of these people are not ready for this. Again, having, I don't have a lot of personal experience with this, but I have a handful of friends. Honestly, the derby community is like, everybody's gay, everybody's poly, everybody's like, wow. So I feel like I just learned a lot by like talking to all my friends about it. And it's just, it requires so much conversation and so much expression of feelings, and you have to be in a really mature place to make this work well. Right.
Absolutely.
And even if you are in a really mature place and you're doing your best, it's still going to be hard. And I think it's not that I would not be open to it, but I think for me, in the place that I am in my life right now, like, I don't have the time to dedicate to do it the right way. So I'm not trying to be out here half-assing polyamory. Like, I just don't, and I also know how I am. Maybe it's the Aquarius, Venus and Mars, where I'm just like, when I love somebody, it's pretty all consuming. Like, I'm pretty like deep dive. And so like, I just think it would be really hard to balance that. And not make someone feel excluded.
Also, part of that is very unconventional. So it's like, there might be an openness. Now, it could be like the right situation.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that's also Aquarius, like the right situation.
I'm not just looking to do it.
Right.
Yeah, just to do it. If it's the right person or whatever, then maybe.
Yes. So I definitely, I agree. So we're getting into this. Would you pursue consensual non-monogamy? Which, I mean, in consensual non-monogamy is still a fairly open, like, there's different ways to do that, right? Like, part of this whole polyamory conversation is, it really is tailored to your relationship. Whatever you have agreed on, that's what y'all do. And so it's like, it's not a one size fits all, like, this is how it happens or whatever. It's like, this is what we decided that is going to work for us.
Yeah.
So in that space, would you pursue it yourself?
I mean, I think, again, I'm a Pisces. I'm open to anything. If it was something that the partner that I was with felt really passionate about, and honestly, it's something that I've had conversations about doing in past relationships. It just like it was one of those things where it was like, okay, we're either going to do this or we're going to break up. And that is not the fucking scenario where you want to start something like that. Like, it feels like an invitation for making the relationship harder. And I don't know, maybe for some people that is, something that has saved their relationship. But I'm thinking about, for the most part on this show, and we'll get into talking about them in a little bit, but like, most of these couples seem pretty solid in each other. They're not on their last leg, like, oh, we're either going to do this or break up, right? Like, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I feel like
open, but
okay. Yeah, I feel like that being the last resort doesn't feel like the right move in probably most situations. Just in my
it's almost like let's have a baby to save this relationship.
Right. Absolutely.
Which is also like, no. No. Yeah, your future generations are like, please, no. Oh my God. The trauma.
Don't bring me into this. How I get in it?
Now how am I in it?
Get it.
Yeah, exactly. So like, it's not that I'm not open to it, but it is, I think it would very much have to be the right situation in a lot of ways. Yes. You know what I mean?
Yes. I think I feel very similarly. Like I'm open to it in a situation. Yeah, like it would have to be the right people involved. Obviously, people who are, very open, who are, in touch with themselves, in tune with themselves, and can communicate. Yes. As I have seen very clearly in this show, yes, which we will talk about.
Yes.
The communication is key. Like if we talk about communication is key in relationship with two people,
man,
how much more important is it when you add multiple other people?
Yeah. Whether it is as a throuple or as just like two people who have other partners. Like, yeah. And how do you, so I recently, and I won't I'm not going to share somebody else's business, but I have a friend who was dating someone, and it's kind of like they're moving towards this transition from making their primary partner, changing who's the primary partner in a relationship. Like it started off that this was the primary partner, and now they're kind of moving towards this other person as the primary partner. And
interesting.
The amount of communication that takes, and the amount of work that it takes to go through it's a lot. It's a lot of communication. And what happens if you go in it with your current primary partner and then you both just kind of decide I don't want you to be the primary anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know. And how do you not feel jealous? Yeah. And how do you not feel like you get hurt feelings? And it's like, well, if we never would have done this, would it be different? And I don't know. It's just a lot. There's a lot of dynamics there for sure.
There's
it's complicated.
A lot of layers. It is very complicated. And I think that's the part that, now I'll be honest. Okay. So, my last relationship was probably my most serious relationship I've been in with a woman. And post that, I'm like, I don't know that I want to have to do more. I feel like being in a relationship with another woman, there's already increased communication.
Sure. Yeah. Just by sharing, nature of
yes, yeah. And feelings. And, I was like,
yeah. Yeah.
I'm just going to deal with a man for a minute because it's a little more simple. It's a little, it's frustrating as fuck. But it's a little more simple in that space because I'm like, ooh, I need a rest.
Sometimes you just don't want to have that many conversations about feelings, and maybe that's my own shit coming up. I know that we're two Pisces who are like, I'm gonna just dissociate for a little bit. I'll be back because I obviously I was not in a relationship with a woman, but I also felt like, oh wow, man, we got to talk about every fucking thing, don't we? And it's not that I'm not talking about my feelings or expressing my feelings now, but just the manner in which it's happening feels very different. And so I totally feel you on I think I just need a little break from all of this. It's a lot. It's exhausting.
It's a lot. And I mein some ways it's so refreshing, but then, again, it does become a lot.
It's a lot.
I just need a little break. So I imagine, myself being in a relationship with multiple people.
Yeah.
And how much more that would be, especially if one of those people was another woman.
Yeah.
I'm just like, and I don't know that I could see, and this goes into my next kind of question, but as far as thruples, but I don't know that I would see myself being in a relationship with two men. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how much they can really handle that.
Look, that is interesting to me, and that is what I wanted to see on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I'm only on episode 5, so I haven't gotten that far yet.
It's not coming.
It doesn't happen. Okay, I didn't.
No.
Kima has things to say about it. Kima's like, yeah, have your boyfriends be boyfriends. It's beautiful.
My boyfriends. I mean, it sounds fun, but
it kind of does.
Like,
but at the same
the
time,
reality is like probably not as fun.
Well,
men just.
And I think you'd have to be 2 very evolved men who were very emotionally intelligent to be able to do it.
And how do you find 2 of them?
Where
are they?
Where are they?
So we're just trying to find one
that are not already dating each other,
and that are not already dating each other.
Come on, and that want a woman involved
and that want a woman involved. Yeah, there's so many things.
There's a lot going on there. Like you're really asking a lot of the male community, the cis male community. Yeah, I don't know that I do think that truly, if you found that dynamic, it would be kind of nice. But at the same time, I don't know. Yeah.
But it's like if you just found one man in this category, you might not feel that you needed another one.
Exactly. Like, yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. Except for maybe like if you want variety. I don't know.
Well, depending on what your sexual preferences are, perhaps, maybe. I think 1 is plenty for me. I don't really need to have 2 at the same time, especially.
I think it would be a problem to have 2. I think they would be a problem more than I would be. They would be a problem.
Yeah. Hard to say. Yeah. You're probably right, though. Because I feel like, then there's the part of me, which is that I feel like what continues to happen on this show is that it's like, okay, it's a man and a woman who are coupled up, who are basically straight passing in every other way. And then they're like, let's bring in a third. But it's always a woman.
It's always a woman.
And it's, that's great. But then it's just like, it kind of plays into this thing that I do have a problem with, which is just this like every male fantasy of exoticizing bisexual women of like, ooh, they're making out. Ooh, it's so hot. It's like, yes, that is like, I'm into it, but at the same time, it's like, I don't want to be into it for your benefit. Like, I don't want to do this for a male gaze, but I also do want you to be enjoying yourself if we're all going to be here together.
Yes.
It's so complicated.
There's a lot to it. And so I had a lot of very similar thoughts because, of course, before I watched it, I'm like, I saw some clips, and what I liked about what I saw of the clips is that I saw people from the queer community. I'm like, okay,
great.
Okay.
Yeah.
We got something going. All right.
Yes. It's not just a bunch of straight couples being like, let's add a third.
Let's have a third. Right.
Yeah.
Because what's new about that?
Nothing,
like
really.
We have all kinds of stuff going on, like threesomes. Like, okay. Yeah. Female, male. Okay.
Okay, great.
All right.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But what is that? That's been everyone, every man's fantasy for all time.
Right.
But I saw some different things, and I was like, okay, this might be something different going on with this. So I turned it on. So yeah, I do think that there are a few couples that are kind of in that same space.
Mm-hmm.
So let's introduce our couple.
Let's get into it. Yeah.
Let's get into it. Okay. So we have Ashmal and Rahman, who are
a gay couple,
male couple.
Yes.
We have Sean and Brittany, who male, female. They got a little different kind. They've given some different energy, but then we'll get into it later. But like they got a little different kind of energy. But I mean,
they are like
passing
a traditional straight couple, but at the same time, they both seem very open-minded to other. They're not.
Yeah.
I don't know. They seem, they're more interesting than just your standard straight couple.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's what I'm getting from them. Okay, then we have Dylan and Lauren. And Dylan and Lauren are one of the couples we discussed that, Shelby had shared with me. It's like, okay, that's what I'm getting. That they kind of give like straight, we just like a third.
Yeah,
to add a woman.
I think I have to give my friend Katie credit for this because she's like, they seem like not like a polyamorous couple, but a couple who swings.
Right, yes.
Or something like that. Yeah, like, which feels different. Like, it's not the same thing.
Yes, not the same thing.
Although they do,
it's in the family, but it's not, it's not relationship, right? It's like, this is a sexual thing we do together.
Exactly.
But not like,
but
there's
I will
an emotional connection.
That is how I judged them immediately. I was like, oh, they're going to be awful. But I've been pleasantly surprised by the emotional intelligence, especially that he exhibits. I'm like, oh,
absolutely.
He's actually way better at being vulnerable and like open to things than I would have guessed. Now they're still not picking a man in this throuple.
Right.
But like,
no.
He is more emotionally intelligent than I initially gave him credit for. And I think that's what their first partner said too. Anyway, sorry, I just had to interject that in there because I was like,
that's perfect. Yes.
I judge that book by its cover, and it's better, but it's
better than it seems.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
It's still a little like, yeah. Are y'all really poly?
Exactly.
Are you interested?
Do you guys just want to fuck a girl together?
Or you just want another girl to fuck? Yeah. Like, because I mean, again, you don't need a show to do that.
Right. You could just do that. Bar. You guys are hot. You could do that.
Plenty of
go in anywhere you want. I'm sure you could find
unicorns. One. That's all. Hey, that's what we do. Well, anyway. I was like, did I just include myself as a unicorn?
Right.
So then we have Corey and Wilder. And Corey and Wilder also,
they kind of exude,
but they give a little
some
more
queer energy.
Yeah, they got a little queer energy. Like Wilder gives me like he could, I could see him.
Yeah,
maybe
I could see it.
It's a possibility.
He gives me vibes of someone I've been in a relationship with before. A little bit, I'm like, yes, I could see you being into some different kind of shit. Good for you. They're cute together.
Like, to watch or something, or I could get them.
Yeah. Why not?
I'm open. So I was here for. I'm like, okay. Then last we have Maximo and Ash. Now Maximo and Ash come in episode 5.
Yes.
So we are gonna talk about just the couples in general, some of the things that have happened. There's going to be some spoilers. So if you haven't watched at least until like episode 6, 7, I can't compartmentalize.
Right. I don't.
Yeah. What episode?
Right.
I'm gonna try not to say too much because I know Shelby has seen all of it.
Yes.
But she's also giving me permission to share some.
You can spoil some things for me, and that is totally fine. That's totally fine. I will still watch the show for sure.
Yes. So we want to see how it works out.
Absolutely.
So, we did have a couple that has found some success, and or throuple that said like, hey, we're into this and we want to take this out of here. We feel like we've gotten all we can get from this retreat. Good.
He threw the chair away at the thing. He was like, we have a girlfriend now. Pool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, serious about it.
Don't have nowhere to stand or sit. She got to stand now.
Okay.
So, all right. I want to sit down because filming is long.
I know you're out here for a long time, but it was good for dramatic.
I threw my chair in the pool. It was very good for dramatic.
One or both of them has a Leo placement. I guarantee it. Just based on the way they dress and look and act, like, yeah.
Yes. Wait. Okay, no, it was Sean. I was like, did they say he was a Leo? Sean is a Leo. We know Sean is a Leo. Oh,
yes, that's right. Okay, yeah.
Because she does mention that in the show that Sean is Leo, so we know that.
Yes.
But yeah, Wilder given a little. They both just they have some very
quirky, maybe some Aquarius in there too. Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
So I feel like. So we're talking about Corey and Wilder. They worked through some issues that were coming up. I know Corey was having some, kind of insecurities that would come up because they had discussed that there was some boundary crossing in previous times that they've welcomed someone else into this, their relationship. So I know she had some things that need to be taken care of there. Yeah. And I felt like he was, receptive and responsible with her feelings. It never felt like he was like, oh, she's bringing that shit up again or whatever.
So that is so funny to me because when they first started having those conversations or when it first came up that he had crossed a boundary of hers before, I was like, oh, she doesn't want to be here. Like, she looked very uncomfortable. Like, there were several times where he was like, yeah, I'm ready for this. I'm a very sexual person. And she was like, not so much.
She's like, I'm not so much. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was reading that initially like, oh, this is not going to go well. Like, this is not going to do, like, I don't like this dynamic for them. He gaslit her into being here. But then I, again, was very pleasantly surprised. I think the partner that they picked was also very like, oh yeah, let's go at your pace. Like, I'm sorry. I didn't mean, I'm just thought we were all here together. Like, I think the person that they picked did a really good job of working with those dynamics. And by the end, I think now, granted, it was this grand gesture of like, we have a girlfriend now. But
right.
At the same time, I don't want to just go off of that. I'm really curious to know if they're still together. But at the time,
I am too.
I was pleasantly surprised at how it all worked out for them. Again,
I was definitely like, where are they now?
Right.
Where's the reunion episode? I need it now because they left early and we need to know what happened.
Because this show just wrapped pretty recently, honestly. Yeah.
And so I will be very interested to see how they made it out in the real world, because that's the true test, especially in a throuple kind of relationship, which is, again, very interesting in like culturally. Like, I was thinking about how would I introduce that to my family? Like, one, it's already enough, right? Like,
because
it was already enough that I was gay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you're trying to bring home multiple partners, and again, this is where, I don't want to say traditional polyamory, but like the polyamory that we're used to is, you wouldn't necessarily bring both of your partners to meet your family, right? Because you might have a primary partner that might have access to your family, but you're not just bringing everybody.
Yeah.
Anyone.
I mean, it depends. I think it just depends on your family. Is your family open to that?
Yes.
Is it,
also,
like,
true.
Because I think this is one of those things that if I brought this to my family, they'd be really confused and weirded out. But I think eventually they'd be like, well, okay. If this,
if it makes you happy.
But then I know other people's families who would just be like, we're not acknowledging that at all. Like, this is her friend and her other friend. Kind of thing.
Like, listen, and don't bring them back over here.
Yeah, don't bring those weirdos over to my house again.
Don't be bringing multiple people over here like this. What do you think this is? No,
yeah.
My family would not be going.
For sure.
But I wouldn't bring it to my family in the first place because I already...
you already know those
just
dynamics.
Have those boundaries at this point. We're not doing it.
Yeah, we just won't talk about it.
I'll just have my life and it's just separate.
Yeah, you don't have to be a part of it in that way.
Nope. And that's what makes me happy. But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised to see that they had, decided that they didn't need the retreat. And I'm like,
yeah.
Again, I said to Shelby, I'm not.
You don't want to stay on vacation
early.
Okay,
no.
I
want to go back to my real life. And pay some bills and shit, and like responsibilities.
But I have to say, it probably is like they're just feeding you alcohol all the time. I mean, at a certain point, like I know your Taurus rising is like, I want to go home. A little bit, like just a little bit.
Maybe depending on how long filming was and how much people get on my nerves.
That's the key, though.
That's the test. Are people getting on my nerves? Because if that's happening, all right. My time is up.
Yeah.
I'll be departing.
Yeah.
But hey. So, okay, we have to talk about these two because this really brought a lot of emotion out of me, this couple, Ashmal and Rahman.
Oh, yes.
We must at least talk about them.
We have to acknowledge them.
I was brought to much frustration by Rahman.
Yes. Understandably.
And I'm sure many people, I would assume probably many people were
He was
frustrated.
not ready. He was not ready.
Rahman was not ready. But Rahman, like Shelby was saying earlier, it seems like maybe Rahman was the person who instigated wanting to have this experience, bring a third partner in. But Rahman... Nothing about Rahman is ready for this experience. But the number one thing is Rahman does not like to communicate. Rahman likes people to read his mind and his emotions. And to see it happen over and over brought me so much frustration of why didn't they ask me what was wrong? Why didn't they ask me? You're curled
We're
up
all
on the
grown
bed.
up. We're all grown ups, okay? You got to tell people how you feel.
And you want somebody to come, babe, what's wrong? Babe, do you want to talk about it? No, if you wanted to talk about it, then you should have sat your ass up and said, hey, I want to have a conversation about this.
Yes.
Are you in a good place to have this conversation?
Yep. And I think, okay, so I don't know about you. I'm just going to speak for myself. But this is so frustrating to me because I know that this is something that I have a tendency towards doing. So I think it bothers me even more.
Pisces, right?
Yeah. I have been the person in a relationship who will just like sit there and pout and give off the signals until someone's like, hey, are you okay? And I'm like, no, actually I'm not. Like, thank you for finally asking. And like, I know that that's something that I have done. But I also am really trying to work on not doing that shit anymore. And when I see it played out in this very obvious way, I'm like, oh my God, this is terrible. Just, you're a grown up. You're a grown up. And it feels like
Ramon, are you a water sign? Tell us. Like,
you're
brooding. He's just brooding all the time.
Do you think he's a Scorpio?
Like, are you Scorpio?
I have to look it up after this. Okay.
We got to find out.
Yeah.
Like, Ramon, are you a Scorpio? Because, I mean, the amount of brooding. I mean, like, literal pouting. There was a scene he walked, I think maybe it was episode 6, like, right after, right after Jonathan.
Oh, yeah.
Left.
He leaves.
We're just jumping all over the place.
Yes,
so the boyfriend they chose, or the man they chose, Jonathan, Ramon was going through all his jealousy or whatever. He was communication issues and all over the place, moody.
Yep.
And Jonathan was like, I'm cool on it.
Yeah. He even literally says, he was like, Ashmal is cool. Clearly they had a connection.
They had a great little connection.
Yeah. Which is also, I think, part of what is making Ramon so upset, because this was his idea, and Ashmal is his first, like, Ramon is Ashmal's first gay partner.
Yes.
And so he's never been in a relationship with a man before. And so I think Ramon feels like he has this power over him in that way. And then he's like, oh, actually, I kind of like this guy more. Maybe not more, but like I'm having feelings for this guy.
Yes. He said that there was more of an emotional connection with Ashmal because Ashmal communicates.
Yes.
And talks about he's open.
Right? And he seems really good at
it. He said there was more of a physical connection there. Now, Ramon on his end was saying, I feel a great emotional connection to Jonathan. And so there was that mismatch, and Jonathan's like, you feel emotionally connected to me, but I feel
have
like
no
you
idea.
Are not open enough. Right?
Yeah. Like, how would I know that you have an emotional connection to me? Because you're literally just like,
you close off.
You're closed off.
Wall up.
Yep.
And like, that's not how you come into relationship with people. Like, you can't expect everyone always to be like, what's going on? What's going on? You're quiet right now. This, that, and the other. Like, no.
Yeah.
Again, we're grown.
We're grown.
No one's a child here.
We're all adults.
So we don't need to have to prod you to find out what's going on in a show that's about relationships.
Right.
And you relating with people. How are you relating with somebody?
Yeah.
And you won't open up and talk to them.
There's literally a whole ass therapist on this show that I'm sure is like encouraging you to be honest and to be open and to set your boundaries. Like, yeah.
So like, okay, so that scene. So after Jonathan leaves, the next episode, they have this challenge, which is about communication. I'm like, I know they're not going to miss that challenge because these are the two people that needed the most. So they did not miss the challenge. So they were there. But as they're walking up, so they have to go into like the rainforest or whatever. And the challenge was to build a tent together in the communication. It takes to build a tent, but also some of the parts that you normally have when you have the tent, modern tents, some of those things weren't there. So they required extra communication.
Yes. Okay.
So as they're walking onto this part of the set, right? And they're joining Scott and oh Lord, I forgot the therapist's name. Our therapist.
Yeah, the therapist.
Lady. Yeah. Yes. Ramon is the first or the second person to walk onto the set, right? And so he is pouting, like visibly, fully pouting, and just, like a whole face. And you see her, it cuts to her, and she's like, oh no. She's like, oh no.
Because she's a therapist. Well, first of all, I have questions about how, as a therapist, ethically you get this job and maintain it. So I do have my questions. But if she's a therapist worth her salt at all, then she has seen him be like this the whole show. And I'm sure she too is tired of his fucking attitude.
It almost gave me myself for a minute, because that would be the same reaction I would have, like, oh no, what has happened? Ramon's upset again.
We're going to have to talk about this. I love it.
So it just made me laugh. Just like, remind, like, baby, you have to communicate. And so even when even after this challenge, he was like, I just think we did they did communicate a lot better, but Ramon's processing of it was saying Ashmal communicated better. Like, he did these things, and it was like, baby,
he doesn't realize that he's the problem.
It's you. You're the problem. It's not Ashmal, baby.
He's been communicating this whole time. Yeah. Oh, I feel like that relationship, even if they don't get into a throuple and maintain one on the show, which you're almost done with the show, so you probably know more than I do, but that relationship is doomed. Unless he figures this shit out.
I don't see it for them. Yeah. And maybe, like, hey, once you go on a reality show and the world sees it, you're going to get a read from the world about how you behaved. And maybe something about that will, trigger him, like, oh, maybe I need to go talk to somebody about these tendencies.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you're going to get the edits you think you're about to get.
Probably not. You never are. On a reality show, nobody ever gets edited the way that they want to be. Yeah.
No. So I'm like, baby, Ramon, you have got to learn. Because it happened in so many scenes. And I'm like, again, I told Shelby, I didn't even start really paying attention until episode 5. And so it happened so many times once I had even started paying attention.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, what's going on with this man? Because
what is his problem? Looks like a little boy over there pouting at every episode. Like,
every episode, I'm like, is this one of the kids I work with at the school? Like, what's happening?
I swear.
What is happening? Use your words, baby. Use your words.
Use your words. Moral of the story is couple to throuple, polyamory. Use your words.
Use your words. That's a great way to wrap, because I know we gotta take a little break here.
Yes, we got other stuff we got to talk about today, but we will come back to this when I'm done with the show.
We'll come back to this conversation.
Maybe our next Shoot the Shit. Let us know. That'll give our audience, if you have not watched already, now you have time to watch.
Yes. That's your little teaser.
Yes, that's your teaser, and we'll come back to this in a couple of weeks for sure.
All right. So let's take a break here, and we're going to come back and we're going to talk about a little bit of astrology, but it's about us. So,
Yes. I can't wait.
All right. All right. Hello. We're back. It's not really the meats, but we're just back for more shit.
Okay? For more of our little tangents for you to enjoy.
More of us.
Let's Shoot the Shit episode.
Yes. So we're going to talk about, because it is our birthday season, it's Pisces season. It's our solar return season. So we're going to look at some solar return charts. And as promised from our last Shoot the Shit episode, we're going to look at Shelby and I's synastry.
Yes, I'm so excited. I don't know why it's taken us 4 seasons to do this.
I know. It's like we've never looked at our own friendship, our own relationship.
Look at us.
It's like couples therapy. Here we are. Couples astro counseling.
Yes, exactly.
So, where should we start? Do you want to start with our synastry? Do you want to start with solar return things?
Let's start with our synastry. Like, okay. Let's talk about that, and then that'll kind of give me some insight into what to look for in my solar return chart, maybe. Like, I don't know how the podcast is going to go based on how our synastry.
How things are going to flow. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So, okay. So I pulled out. So we talk about synastry. Anytime we're talking about chart comparisons, or anytime you're really looking at aspects in general, right?
Right.
The rule of thumb is you're going to start with conjunctions and oppositions, because those are the strongest aspects.
Right.
Then you're going to go to squares. So I know we all want to go to the positive next. We all want to go to those trines and those sextiles, and like talk about the easy flow and energy.
Let's give us the hard
harmony.
Stuff.
It's like, nope, the next thing we look at is squares.
Well, and we're Pisces, so of course we don't have a problem with that. We can address the hard shit.
We can address the hard things. We avoid them in general, but we can talk about it in theory.
Yeah, exactly.
So, here we are. So so we know as we're talking about these things, if we don't get too much into trines and sextiles, is because we have to talk about the strongest energy, and then you can talk about those more minor kind of aspects that help these other things along.
Yes.
So the first thing we have, as you all know, Shelby and I are both Pisces.
Of course.
But as we also know, all of our signs have, various decans and things like that. Even Shelby and I are also in the same decan.
Hey.
But we, we have different degrees. And so there are different makeups that we all have that kind of affects how our relationships flow together. So our first aspect is that we have a sun, Shelby's sun, conjunct my moon.
Ooh.
So Shelby's sun is 21 degrees Pisces, and my moon is 20 degrees Pisces.
Oh, right there together.
Right there together, yes. So this is one of the traditional soulmate placements.
Soulmates?
Yes.
Oh my God, look at us. Okay, it tracks.
So we were always meant to be friends, Shelby.
Always. We had to have that shitty job together. It was meant to be.
Oh, Jesus, karma, okay?
Ooh, for real.
We had to go through that to get here. And look at us having a whole podcast.
Can you believe?
It all came from that.
Do you think everybody else that we worked with at that job is like, they went on to do some very weird shit together? That's probably what they're thinking.
Some of our colleagues from that place, went into practice together, as far as therapy practice, whatever. Shelby and I went to do an astrology podcast
together. And you know what? It's working out great for us, actually.
And it's going well. So, I think we made out the best, honestly. But
I agree.
So, let's talk about this sun conjunct moon, okay?
Okay.
So, this is going to create a very good foundation for any relationship, right? So both people are able to understand and relate to each other. And the sun person tends to be more active, while the moon person tends to play more of a supportive role in the sun person's activities and goals. And so this pair also doesn't feel as much that they need to communicate their feelings as they usually can sense what the other is thinking and feeling. This is like what Ramon wanted, right?
Yes.
He wanted a sun conjunct moon situation.
Now, I would say I think both of us do a really good job with communicating our feelings.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, I do think that we're good at picking up on like, there's been times where I've been like, she's tired today. I'm just like, are you okay, friend? Like, Girl, and part of that is us communicating with each other, but parts of that are just like you sense the energy.
You can feel, you can feel when energy is different. And, it's like we have, again, that sun conjunct moon, but also the fact that the sun conjunct moon is in the sign of Pisces.
Yes.
And so we have that very intuitive energy.
Yes,
so
exactly.
Just to know, all sun conjunct moon don't conjunct the same. Okay.
Yeah.
So you might not have as much intuition as far as, as we do, because, it's the Pisces, it's a little psychic, right?
Yeah.
So we feel things, we sense things with each other. And so there's some things that we don't necessarily always have to say, though, again, we do say, we do communicate very well.
I would say so.
Yeah. But so I was like, that's, a beautiful start to that chart, right? So then we have Shelby's moon, which is 17 degrees of Gemini. Is square my moon at 20 degrees of Pisces again. So we've got the sun conjunct moon, really nice.
It's lovely.
We got a little square on the moon side.
Interesting. Okay.
So, what this means is our emotional needs may clash and maybe create a sense of disharmony, or that we may be operating at different wavelengths when it comes to seeking emotional security. And so our responses to emotions may differ. So, and that's not, again, squares aren't always like doom and gloom, but it may show you some areas where those, those kind of differences may like rub up against each other, just, like it might create a little friction, like, okay.
It's just
You're
something
reacting differently than I would to this.
Yeah, definitely. It's something to be aware of. And I think that makes for interesting podcasting.
Absolutely. But I think also where, again, those work together is because you have that moon aspect, but then you also have that sun and moon conjunct aspect. it helps us like intuit a little better, like where some people might not sense those areas. We like sense that and like, you know, hey, you might check in or you might, you know, do something and just like, what's going on? Or, where other people are like, well, she acting like this, you know. You might internalize it more but not actually communicate through it. I don't know. I think, you know, I think they kind of work together. They help each other. And this is how, when you look at all of the things together, you see how it all works, right?
Pieces of a puzzle, right?
Yeah. So it's like, you know, we don't single out any aspects, you know, unless it's a major red flag.
Look at the whole picture. Yeah.
But look at the whole
yeah.
One of them red flags, like, I mean, it might be enough, but, you know, look at the rest of it, but it might be enough.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a lot of moon aspects here. So Shelby's moon at 17 degrees Gemini is opposite my Uranus at 17 degrees of Sagittarius. So, right. So, okay, we got a little outer aspect, inner aspects happening here. So what this means is the moon person is in opposition to the Uranus person. Your ideas about freedom and unconventional approach to relationships may conflict with their concepts of what your partnership should be like. Now, this kind of talks a little bit like, you know, it kind of speaks in a little romantic terms. So, but you can still piece that with like what a friendship partnership looks like.
Sure.
So these people can benefit from taking a balanced approach which serves your mutual needs with the best you both have to offer. So just a little moon Uranus, you know, that Uranus thing that's kind of more generational. So you just have a difference in that space.
That makes sense though.
Yeah. Because you know, I'm a little old. Even though Shelby often forgets, which I love.
I forget.
She forgets that I'm old as hell. But you know,
you're not old as hell. No, but it really does feel like we're on the same wavelength generationally most of the time. So, you know, there's occasional references that I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, or
didn't make that one.
Yeah, sorry. It's bound to happen.
Like, I missed that one. I missed
Keep it interesting, you know?
SpongeBob. I'm like, you know, I was there, but I wasn't there.
I literally almost made a SpongeBob reference earlier in this podcast, and then I was like, she's not going to get it. Stop doing that. She's not going to get it.
Like, if it's like a really general one that like everyone knows, it's like, I could get those, but like the very specific, like you had to be a watcher.
It played in my mind on repeat. Like, yeah, sorry. I stopped myself.
I didn't catch those, but you know, I love it.
That's okay.
You know, it's one of those things. Okay, so you know, here I am with my scrolling issues again. Okay, so our next aspect is my Mars. Okay, 3 degrees of Taurus is trying. Okay, I went out of order, but we're gonna go here.
That's okay.
Trying Shelby's Jupiter at 8 degrees of Virgo. So trines are 120 degrees, and they typically are going to be same sign. Now, sometimes, you know, when you have those degrees that are kind of close to the edge, you might trine something that's in a different, elements. I meant to say element.
Oh, okay.
You might trine in a different elements, but if you're kind of in these spaces, like Taurus, Virgo, so we're in the same element. So that's, you know, harmonious, right?
Okay.
So
look at us.
Yes, this is going to bring harmonious and invigorating energy to the relationship. Both individuals are going to feel a sense of encouragement and support from each other, allowing them to pursue new opportunities and expand their horizons. Yes, right? Yeah.
I say that's very true so far for us. Yeah.
Right. The dynamism and assertiveness of Mars are appreciated by the Jupiter person. So Jupiter being Shelby, Mars being me, who sees the potential for growth and success in the relationship. Together, you feel unstoppable and confident in facing any challenges that come your way. The combination of Mars and Jupiter creates a fortunate and lucky energy, enhancing your ability to take action and seize opportunities. It's like, I see,
yep.
I see.
I see us doing that.
Yes. Your intuitive and timing abilities complement each other, making you a dynamic duo with a bright future.
You hear that? We're going places.
Okay, come on,
Definitely going places.
Very auspicious, okay? So now we have a square, right? But this is a Venus square. So the thing about Venus squares are never really like bad.
It's not, yeah.
Like, you get some other squares and you're like, run away, right? Pluto. If we had a Pluto square, we wouldn't have a podcast.
We wouldn't be here together. Yeah.
We would not have a podcast together.
We wouldn't be this far in for sure.
It would not have happened. We probably wouldn't be friends if we had a Pluto square in our synastry. So, there's that. So Venus at 21 degrees Aries, which is me, is squared to 22 degrees of Cancer of Shelby's ascendant. So Venus square the ascendant, right? So what kind of energy are we making with that? So this is going to suggest a potential clash between personal habits and social mannerisms.
Interesting.
So okay, interesting. So the two individuals may find each other's behavior and social sensibilities unappealing.
That's really funny. Also, that's funny because we don't actually, considering how much time we spend together, doing the podcast, we don't spend time together in social situations all that often.
Yeah.
So it's
true. Very true.
Kind of hard to know if that's even true.
Yeah, I think, because, our initial relationship was at work. Right. And so then, we became friends and we spent time, hanging out outside of work together.
Gone out to eat or whatever.
Yeah, but not in a long, not a lot of time. Right. And so that would be interesting to see, if we were to spend that kind of time together, to see if that dynamic would come out in some way.
If we traveled together or something.
Yeah.
That would be really interesting. Okay, but at least now we know.
We saw that in the synastry.
We knew this was coming.
Right.
It makes sense. That's really funny.
So it says, this misalignment of values and aesthetics can pose challenges in the relationship, as understanding and appreciating may be difficult. So both individuals should be mindful of impulsive emotional behavior, which can worsen the issues. Emotional outbursts should be avoided to prevent further strain on the relationship. But by practicing emotional intelligence and considering the impact of their actions, they can navigate potential conflicts and foster understanding and harmony. So I'm like, I don't think, we haven't had any emotional outbursts with one another.
So. No.
So it's kind of strange to see that, right? Because it's like, I wonder, again, I wonder how that would really play out, because
just hard to say. We'll see.
We communicate pretty well, so we don't.
I think so too. And
the emotional outbursts.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe one day we'll go on tour for the podcast or something, and then we'll really see.
Then that might be it, Shelby. That might be the thing. Well, we went on tour together, and that was the end.
And that was no, I think we'll be very clear on that for sure.
Yes. Okay, that was interesting. Okay, so the last aspect for us is we have our midheavens, which mine is at 7 degrees Aquarius, and Shelby's is at 6 degrees of Aries. They are sextiles. So those sextiles are 60 degrees from one another. So that is, again, that's kind of that harmonious, easy flowing energy, right? So this means that I love this little description. The celestial dance brings forth an immense potential for mutual success and shared aspirations. So as your midheaven harmonizes with your partner's midheaven, a profound sense of understanding and support is established. Your paths in life converge, allowing you to embark on a journey together towards achieving your individual aspirations. This aspect encourages you both to inspire and motivate one another, helping each other unlock your full potential.
I love that.
I love it, right?
That sounds like podcast success to me.
I'm like, there's a lot of things in our synastry that give, some success to our podcast, and our friendship in general. But our endeavors together be very successful. So I'm like, I'm here for it. I'm like, look at this synastry.
This is great. This is also, I'm like, knowing you, which I guess you were really into astrology at this point too, but like when you first asked me to be your co-host, I was like,
yeah,
you didn't run the synastry first to see if we had any huge Pluto squares or like anything.
Like, no, we're just going for it.
We're going for it, but it worked out really well. I don't know. I was honored.
Felt the energy.
I was like,
look at us. Energy. Yes.
We knew it was.
I wasn't the astrologer I am today. Then,
that's true. So
that was wouldn't have known.
3, almost 4 years ago at this point. So you've had plenty of time to study since then.
So yeah, we've done a lot. So let's get into some solar returns.
Solar returns, yes. Okay.
So Shelby has had her solar return.
I have.
So let's get into Shelby's solar return. Because hers has just activated.
Oh man.
And so much. Was it the same? Okay, it was actually your birthday. We talked last year. Sometimes it's not your birthday, but yours was actually your birthday. Mm-hmm. And so my headphones are just really yelling at me.
Oh, so sorry.
But we're not trusting them. We're just going to trust.
We're just going to keep moving forward.
Trust the universe that
we'll get through this. That's right. We'll get through it.
So Shelby, I want to ask you, so you're in here, you're looking at this. I'm going to ask you, what stands out to you first? From the notes, from anything, what jumps out to you of this solar return information?
So let's see. Well, obviously the first thing that I'm seeing is this Aries rising. Because was it last year that I was Sag rising, and so I was like, oh, like what's going on there?
Right.
And it made sense because of the kind of year that I had. It was things were, I won't say they were unstable, but they were, I was moving around a lot from place to place. I was, definitely did not have the stability in my life that I had previously. And so this is like, okay, we're going in a different direction, new adventures, enthusiasm. I'm like, okay, I'm going to need this excess of energy to get some shit done this year. And I kind of feel like I'm on that trajectory right now. So I'm trying to make some things happen in my life. Some big moves.
I see it. I'm like, I feel that energy very much like right at the beginning of the solar return year. It's like, boom, Aries. Jumping out there. Yes.
Yeah. Big things are happening for me right now. So that's really the first thing. Now I'm just kind of glancing through to see what else is happening in here.
Yeah.
Oh, of course, the 12th house stellium. Like, I know I'm just naming off the first two things that you had noted in here, but I said that right before we got in here. I was like, oh my God, 12th house stellium. That's a big stellium too. Like,
and Shelby has a big 12th house stellium this solar return year.
Yeah,
so there's a lot of energy there.
Yeah. So introspection, internal feelings, empathy. Collective vision, but still internalized internal energy. There's okay, what? Sun, Moon, Mercury, North Node, Chiron, Neptune, and Saturn are all in the 12th house.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things happening. It's like, I think of the, 12th house is like there's a lot of work happening behind the scenes, right? There's a lot of things happening that nobody is seeing.
Right.
I'm like, did I just come out of a well, we know I have a 12th house stellium just natally.
Yes, exactly.
I was part of you. If I just came out of a 12th house stellium charts, solar return, I feel like I did. And so I'm like, I can relate.
Right.
Right. A lot of things happening behind the scenes, a lot of time spent with yourself, and a lot of internal work happening. So I see that very much in your space, especially with your sun, your moon, Saturn's there, Chiron's there, and your North Node. So like what you will take from this year is also going to be in the direction of the place that you are going in your life. And so, yeah, so
Okay.
like
Yeah.
this, I mean, it's, it's one of those, like, it's a growth year.
Yeah.
Like this is, that's what it's
Well,
giving to me.
And again, comparatively to, that the heavy Sag energy that was in my solar return chart last year really tracked because obviously I got divorced, but I was also like out and about and doing things and seeing people and like rebuilding this social circle. And now I kind of have all of that established, and like literally the weekend before my birthday, I was like out doing things every single night. And then literally yesterday, I was like, I need to be in the house. Like, I want to, and I've had this energy of just like, I want to get my own shit together and get my space together. And like, I want to be in the house and I want to be alone, like in a way that I have not wanted to up until this point. And so it's like, I can feel myself being drawn towards that internalized energy and like putting time in to focus on myself and my projects and my stuff. In a way that I wasn't last year. So that's exciting.
Yeah. I think, I mean, it's very much, it's giving like, you're going to put that time and energy into yourself. And there's some other aspects actually in here that kind of speak to that as well. Of like really focusing on you. And so we have that, the 12th house stellium. And then next to that, we have a first house stellium. So again, a lot of internal energy. So you've got Jupiter, you've got your part of fortune, and you have Uranus. So those are some interesting, kind of those mid outer planets hanging out there. But this is gonna, say, focusing on your individuality, developing your potential, your strengths. So it's a lot of focusing on yourself and your needs. So yeah, I feel like this year is going to be a lot of that kind of energy for you.
Yeah.
And so you'll find yourself in those spaces like, no offense. I just, I'm gonna pass on that, or, just like, I'm gonna do this over here. Just,
right.
Really doing a lot of more intro work.
Yeah. Intra. Yeah.
So the next thing I saw here was then you have your Mars and your Venus in the 11th house. Now this is where it got a little scandalous. And I was like, no, hold on, what's going on over here?
Okay, let's see.
So, Mars and Venus hanging out in the same house, is already given some action, right? So Mars in your 11th house is going to give that intense desire for freedom, of action, and the aggressive goals or aggressive pursuit of goals within the year. And so to accomplish those goals, you have to maybe bend a few rules, break some family traditions. That Aquarius is kind of that 11th house, that Aquarius energy that's like, something about that is like breaking the family traditions as well. Like not just unconvention, but like something with the family. Aquarius has a vendetta with families.
Yeah.
It's always busting up the family traditions.
Interesting. I wonder what that's going to be.
Right. That's interesting. And so goals may be very self-oriented, self-serving, even selfish. So might just be in that space.
Yeah.
Like, and that is where the energy is right now. So you have that, right? Then you have Venus in the 11th house, which, is more likely to be involved in friendships and associations with a number of people rather than in-depth relationships with only a few individuals. So it's kind of like spreading yourself a lot more thin. Versus like, keeping it, and pouring deeply into a few. So that relationship style leans more heavily on detached, less intimate forms of relating, right? Because you're spreading yourself more thin.
Right.
And focusing on expanding your circle and creating new interests. So this placement actually affects relationships. So if you are in a relationship, this is where it was like, this is where it gets kind of like, what's going on? So depending on how strong the relationship is, this placement tends towards, again, personal freedom and playing the field.
Ooh.
So literally, I did not put this.
Nope. This is what the astrology says
for an affair.
The astrology says it.
Like, oh Lord.
Well, I'm glad you warned me. At least I know what's coming.
Keep your eyes open. You start seeing somebody look too attracted to you. Remember, I said this.
I'm like, remember, Christine said it doesn't have to be this way.
It don't have to be like this, but the energy is present, okay? The energy is present.
Sure is. Okay.
You find some temptation creeping up. Like, just remember, I said it.
She said it. I'll let you know. You'll be the first to know.
That's why I was like, I know I'm going to know about it. It's so
right. You'll be the first to know.
So there's a little scandal in Shelby's chart. So then we have the next placement that was interesting is we have Pluto in the 10th house. Mm-hmm. So this just means significant changes and transformation in your career or public life. So we might be making some changes.
Okay.
In your career.
Okay. That's all right.
And it's at 1 degree. And so this, may be like the beginnings of this, right? It may be you're thinking about these changes or you're starting the action of these changes or something. It's whatever it is in the beginning process because of that 1 degree of Pluto. And of course, we know Pluto is currently at 1 degree.
Yeah.
So that's that on the placements.
Okay.
So then we got into some aspects that I want to pull out here. Okay, so the first one is you have a Sun conjunct Neptune, as I think I do as well.
Oh, okay.
I feel like my Sun and Neptune is always all up on my Sun, and I need to back up off of it. I know I'm already
just a little bit,
like,
please. We don't need to make it more confusing.
Yeah, okay, like it's enough. So you two here are in this boat. So the Sun conjunct Neptune in your solar return is going to indicate that the native is growing more sensitive on a number of levels, and this can have both positive and negative ramifications, right? Because it's Neptune. So sensitivity is meant to facilitate spiritual developments, not confusion and escapism.
Okay. That's the part that I have to remember.
That's the part. Right. So facts are not known and truth is not revealed, only alluded to. And uncertainty regarding the present and or the future is common. So just know that.
Okay. Yes.
The uncertainty is just be prepared.
Right.
So also in this space, you're less concerned with selfish interests. And this leads to better understanding of relationships and how we're all connected.
Okay. So that's a little bit of a far cry from the other like internal work that I'm doing, but that could be a nice balance. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There's some balance to that. That's going to help balance it out. Oh, okay. Let's take a pause for just a minute.
All right. All right, y'all, we are back. We're going to finish up doing my solar return chart, and then we are going to get into Christine's. So, Christine, what other conjunctions do we have on my solar return this year? What else do I have to look out for?
What else can you expect, Shelby?
Right.
Outside of the scandal. Okay. You've got a moon conjunct Mercury. And what that tells us is that there's going to be a need to integrate unconscious feelings with conscious thoughts.
Ooh,
so
okay.
You can actively seek out more information about your feelings and motivations through discussions, journaling, and meditation. And you'll be able to understand the total picture from your rational assessment combined with the intuitive insight.
Okay. We like that.
So I feel like that piece fits in again with that a lot of more of that introspection, right? Like spending that more of that time with yourself, journaling, meditating, getting into your own space. I think that all kind of lends to that. So I'm like, okay, I see that.
Okay.
Also here we have a moon conjunct with Chiron. So we know Chiron is that wounded healer. So we know that there's some healing. And when the moon and Chiron get together, we know that we're going to heal some things.
It's an emotional moment for sure.
Yes. A moment. Okay. So you're going to be coming to terms with triggers, wounds, fears, shame, insecurities, all of that stuff, right?
Okay.
All of that's in there.
Ready for that?
all that time with yourself, all that stuff comes up, right? Like let me tell you all of the things. So next thing I found that was really interesting here is you have a moon opposite your vertex. So we probably could have called this a little earlier in the chart, because vertex things, as we remember, are fated events. And usually fated events revolving other people or involving other people. So with a moon opposition, so anytime, the vertex is aspected, we usually look at conjunctions and oppositions to the vertex. We don't usually look at like other aspects. I have seen this discussion about that. It's kind of strange, but everybody do you? But there's a moon opposition, so that's at least a strong aspect to the vertex. So your vertex is in the 6th house in this solar return year. So that's going to bring matters of health, also accidents, which
just fingers crossed that goes well. Yeah, I did actually. Yeah,
right.
I could not. I'm good with any more of those. Right. Actually,
maybe that's the one.
Hey, we'll go with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So also with Mercury in the 12th house, this is where suffering, undoing, holding secrets, faraway places, cheating again.
Stop trying to make me be scandalous this year. I swear. I know it's not. It's the astrology. It's the astrology. It's not you.
Just be aware, girl. Just like, girl, I gotta tell you about this stuff.
Yeah.
It's like it was in here in the chart. So things to look out for.
I'd rather know.
So then when we have
I said I'd rather know.
Oh yeah, sorry. So then when we have the moon contact with your vertex, we've got emotionality involved, right? Or affected, and your soul, again, because it's the vertex, these fated events. So there's likely to be something in there that's gonna, stir up some of that at some point in this year. So one of the things to look out for, which we won't do here, but we want to get deeper into it, you want to look for when Mercury crosses this vertex point in transit, which you will want to look at your progress charts. So another chart to look at, but progress chart really is going to give us a lot of information about when exactly that kind of event will happen. So if you're interested in that, that's where we're going to go.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about progress charts much on this podcast.
We'll have to save that for sometime soon.
Yeah, another episode. They're very interesting. I've just started getting a little bit into them myself, but yeah, very interesting if you want to get into timing. Okay, so the next aspect we're looking at is a Mercury conjunct Neptune. Again, Neptune, Mercury, not always the place, the people, the planets we want to see hanging out together.
Yeah, because it sounds confusing.
Confusion in your communications and thoughts. So this is going to suggest working with the less clearly defined psychological drives, such as compassion, creativity, and spirituality. Not so bad, right?
Yeah, sure.
So your sensitivity to subtle emotional connections among all people is going to increase your concern for certain individuals in particular and humanity as a whole. So here you're able to acquire information through intuitive and psychic insights.
Okay. Tapping into that intuition again. Great.
We're not mad at that.
Take that.
Mad at that.
Yeah.
And then, our next aspect is Venus conjunct Mars. So we did see that we have Venus and Mars up in the 11th house together.
Yes.
So this is either going to tell us the actions are either going to support or conflict with your relationship or financial needs. And I think there's maybe Taurus. Well, Venus is involved. So it's either relationship or financial. So just know.
One of those things is going to happen. And it could be supported.
You're going to help it or you're going to make it better. It works. You're going to make it better. You're going to make it worse.
Who knows?
We'll find out.
I'll keep you updated.
Yes. So those were the major aspects for sake of time, we'll just talk about the majors. Yeah. I'll leave the other aspects there for Shelby to get into for herself.
You guys don't need to know everything about my chart. I'm gonna play with the rest of this later.
Yes. So we also both had a Jupiter conjunct Uranus, but because those planets are not, personal planets, we don't get as much information about like the outer and the, Jupiter is that middle. But those planets, we don't get as much about solar return when they aspect each other, because again, that's not really our personal energy as much. But we both also have that conjunction in our chart, just so we know.
Interesting.
So might be a little, again, generational energy happening. But I also think I saw something about Jupiter and Uranus conjuncting sometime soon, like sometime this year. So that might be what we're seeing there.
Yeah.
Is that we're all seeing that come up in our charts. So
interesting.
There's that. So any takeaways, Shelby? Anything?
There's a lot of things that I'm kind of thinking about how I imagine my year would go, how I would like for my year to go. And there are certainly things on here that I'm like a little nervous about. The whole 12th house thing, the health thing is like, ooh, am I going to have some sort of a health accident or something unexpected in that way, which, you can never really prepare for, but is also good to keep an eye on. So
good to know, right?
Let me go ahead and make a primary care doctor appointment and get all my shit taken care of, just try to do this. And again, with all of the introspection, I have a feeling I'll be doing a lot of self-care, a lot of self-reflection, a lot of internal work this year. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about, what I'm focusing on for right now.
Yeah. And I think that, that's where, again, that's where the focus is. And your focus is obviously on these new beginnings and these new things that are coming into your life. And so, of course, everyone always has some challenges within their solar return years. I mean, all of our years, right? All of our lives, we've all got challenges.
Be some suffering involved at some point.
Yeah.
And that's just part of life.
There's some suffering involved.
Yeah, that's just life.
It's just part, unfortunately, suffering is part of our lives.
Yes.
But hopefully we at least, get some growth, which you do have that North Node hanging out with all of that as well. So it's going. So at least it's going somewhere.
Okay. It might be okay. Yeah.
It's not for nothing. Which is, I guess always a silver lining. It's not for nothing.
Not for nothing.
So lastly, we're going to talk a little bit about what my year is going to look like.
Yes, let's see.
Now, okay, I will just a quick aside. I saw something that I was about to actually correct on Instagram today, and I had to go look it up. But I saw someone had posted about how the astrological new year was going to start on March 19th. And Aries season starts on March 19th, all this stuff, things we need to start doing. And I was about to just repost it yep, it's the astrological new year. But I was like, actually, it starts on the 20th. Yeah. And I was about to correct it. But then I was like, you know what?
Because it was a leap year?
Equinox. Affected it. And so I'm like, okay, the equinox is on the 19th, which is likely why they decided to say the Aries season also started on the 19th.
Right.
And I'm like, well, not quite, because let us the Pisces finish. The 19th and the 20th Pisces. We need
let
to
us
finish.
Get the full season.
Let
us
finish. Okay.
Yeah.
And then we can talk about Aries season. But yes, the spring equinox is on March 19th. So here just a few days, we're gonna be springing.
So that is so complicated because it's like your birthday is just right on that edge, and it's like obviously when you were born you were a Pisces, but now it's like technically this year this falls in the Aries season. Yeah, maybe.
So the reason, we have these things happen, right? Everyone had, every sign, of course, has that cusp. And sometimes that cusp happens on the same day. And so, I used to get so irritated because I would see things that would say I was an Aries. I'm like, no, I'm a Pisces.
I'm not.
But some people born on March 20th are Aries.
Right.
Because, when I look at my chart, I was born at 8:34 in the morning, and about at 10 a.m. at my time, the sun moved into Aries. So when I'm telling you, I'm the 29th degree.
Yeah, you're like
at the end,
as
like
far at
just
the end as you could possibly be.
Right.
But I'm so glad, because what would we have called this podcast otherwise?
Fire and water.
We could have come up with something cute, I'm sure. But
such a flame. Like, I don't know. But yeah, so I mean, some people born on my birthday are in fact Aries. In fact, maybe many of them, or most are Aries.
Yeah.
And I'm just the outlier. So maybe I need to get with the program. But I digress. Let's talk about solar return.
Yeah.
So the first thing we look at, of course, in our solar return is what the rising sign is. Like, what is the year ahead looking like? So I've got a Libra rising this year.
Ooh.
Interesting energy, right?
Yeah.
Very focused on partnerships, relationships with others, and maybe marriage.
Marriage, huh? So quickly.
Strange fruits here, like marriage. At this point, like, no, I mean, I'm still open.
Sure.
It's like, okay.
It's gotta be really good
marriage
at this point.
material popping up.
Right now? Already? Okay.
Ooh. I'm like looking around. Like, is it someone already in my, circle of friends?
Could be.
Or is it a new person? Again, we talked about it. Now, I'm not accepting the old friends.
We're not taking that. We're not letting that happen.
Friends.
No. Okay.
Old flames.
Good to know.
No twin flames.
Yeah.
Look at me. I'm calling out none of them.
None of them. We talked about you.
Him.
All those Virgos. Yeah.
They can stay in the past. I want some new energy, something new and fresh. Okay. Yes.
We'll see.
So that's what I'm claiming for myself. So, okay. Now the next thing is we've got a couple stelliums. I've got a 6th house stellium, which I've got Sun, Mercury, the North Node, Neptune, and Chiron all hanging out in the 6th house. So in the 6th house, that's where we talk about health, our organization, routines, and/or work. Daily routine of work, not necessarily our career, but just that in and out daily routine of work.
Day to day.
So a lot of energy there. I can see that. I can honestly see the focus on health because my family has been really pushing me about going to see my primary care physician and having a physical. Because everyone in my family has done theirs, and there have been several diagnoses of diabetes in which they're really pushing, now for me to go, and know my status,
Sure.
And the Pisces wants to avoid,
avoid.
Now it feels ominous to go to the doctor.
But then if you go and it's good, then you're like, great, I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing. Feels good, right? Yeah.
That's what we're hoping. But I got this little habit that it's not great for me. And every time, I will say this again, as a health aside, every time I go to the doctor or just, for any kind of whatever, like they have to take your blood pressure, whatever, they're like, are you on blood pressure medication? And I'm like, no, should I be?
Should I be? Why are you asking me that question? Yeah. Are you telling me that because
tell me to get on it?
Because I'm low and I it looks like I am, or because I need to be and I'm not?
And I think it's more on the high side, and I'm like, should I be? So this is one of these things that I'm like, girl, just go to the doctor so the doctor can tell you
right,
yes or
if
no.
You need to be,
or maybe you need to reduce your smoking. Which I'm like, is there something else we can do?
Is there anything else? Anything else? Yeah.
Some natural powders. So,
I'll take the medication I'll try some roots and herbs, anything to allow me to continue
anything herbal.
to
I'm
smoke.
into it. But I'm gonna need to continue the smoking.
Yes.
At least in a minimal way.
Yes.
Okay, so then we have a 5th house stellium, which is more fun and interesting to talk about.
Of course.
It's the 5th house. Okay, that's where we find fun. So We have Venus, Mars, and Saturn here. And so the 5th house, again, is where we find dating or, beginnings, like kind of that casual, like startings of love, dating, all that. We find fun, we find play, we find children. Now, anytime I see children stuff pop up, I'm like, well, I work at a school.
Right. So
like,
that's what that is. Yeah.
That's what that is.
Yeah.
That's what we're saying it is. So there's going to be some focus here on love, flirting, fun, expression, creativity, arts, and again, children. Yeah, I'm at the school. So there'll be focus there. And I'm always trying to be artsy and creative with the kids in general, bringing stuff to them, finding new ways for them to express themselves, talk about things, all the things. So that's the 5th house. That's what we're saying. I'm looking forward to seeing, maybe there's a new boo.
Maybe. I hope so. I hope so.
Like, come through, new boo. Come through. So then we have Pluto in the 4th house. So this one, gave me a little pause. Pluto, the 4th house is where we find home and family. And so this says you may experience profound changes in your home life and family dynamics, possibly moving residences or major renovations. If you're moving like to a new home or something, you've bought a new house. Now if this was yours,
right,
it's like, hey,
that makes sense. Yeah,
you want to watch out for check everything.
Yeah,
do an extra inspection. There's probably going to be some stuff happening with that house, but it's not yours.
It's not me. Yeah,
I'm not planning on buying a house as far as I know in the next year. We don't know what could happen, but if it does happen, I'm gonna be
something
very,
to watch out for.
Cautious about
for sure
what's happening with that house.
Yes.
But more than likely, it just means I'm probably gonna have to move from this apartment.
Aww. Womp womp. She's so cute.
We knew it was coming.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. So also I've got Jupiter in the 7th house. Now this is interesting because this does form an aspect later in this chart, but it forms an aspect, I believe, with Venus and Saturn because they're conjunct.
Interesting.
We'll talk about in a second. But Jupiter in the 7th house, it says, ask and you shall receive, right? So others naturally come to your aid, giving more assistance and support than you expected, or you even thought you needed.
That's nice.
So you might, right, like, okay, I need some support now.
Support me.
Someone may be in the perfect position to actualize your goals, and partnerships of this nature enable you to accomplish together what you would not have attempted alone. So I'm like, okay. I feel, there's some energy with the person that I'm like, I feel this kind of energy with this person. I'm very interested to see how this all plays out.
Places you didn't expect it to go.
Like, okay. So then I've got a moon in the 10th house. And the 10th house is where we find our career, our public life. So this suggests changes in career or professional tasks
also
that you are asked to perform.
Seems very possible energy, for you, right? Yeah.
But yes, very, very, yes. In fact, I have to tell you something related to that, but changes can be beneficial, take advantage of professional opportunities and career development. So everything you do at work will be more public. So that is either positive or negative. If you're doing the right things, you'll be recognized. If you're doing not the right
everybody's
things,
gonna know
people
about
will know about it. Yeah. So most changes are directly and indirectly within your control.
Okay.
Like, okay,
that's good.
Yeah. So those are the placements. I'm gonna do a couple. I won't do all of these aspects. I'll do a few of them.
Yeah.
So we talked about the Sun conjunct Neptune with Shelby's chart, right. So I'm not gonna rehash that. But again, we have that same energy. So no, Neptune, leave me alone.
Please.
Also, here I've got moon opposite Pluto.
Ooh.
We gotta talk about that because, those Pluto contacts are not always a good time.
Very transformative.
So, very transformative, but not always a good time.
Mm-hmm.
So this implies an emotional makeup which is complicated by unconscious psychological influences. So those influences are more likely to be propagated by another person or an external event or situation. You are less likely to be the instigator and more likely to be the responder, though not always. And you may feel the need to confront circumstances you find intolerable. Now, why that's interesting is if you just remember, the moon is Pluto is in my 4th house. And that is where those psychological influences are coming from. So Pluto is all about those unconscious psychological influences. So that affecting my moon, which is in my 10th house, those are in opposition with each other. So I'm like, that's interesting energy for your 10th and your 4th house to be at opposition with each other. I'm like, that's interesting to think how that will play out. So very curious about that. Definitely want to mention any kind of Pluto contact. Also, I'm going to skip down to the Venus conjunct Saturn.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Because, we want to talk about the love things. So this is happening in that 5th house. So Venus conjunct Saturn is either the solidification of a relationship or the inhibition of a relationship. So, that Saturn, it has that staying power. So it's either going to
make or break,
lock it in, or it's going to have that delaying effect. And it's just like, we just can't seem to put it together. Like, we like each other, but there's something in the way. There's a barrier. So both processes are going to involve the use of structure to define a relationship. And you will not take your relationships lightly. So if they are to survive, they have to be meaningful. I feel that very, that feels very like where I am right now.
Yes. Yeah. Like, I'm thinking about a couple of relationships, not like relationships, but like, friendships, I suppose, that you're having right now that could turn into other things potentially. And I'm like, yeah, this is interesting energy for that, for sure.
Right? Like it's very interesting. So I'm like, okay, I see it.
Yeah.
So healthy relationships can strengthen and show a renewed sense of commitment. And the ability to accept more responsibility with or for each other is possible. And this might lead to marriage, raising children, and or the purchase of a home together.
Yikes. Okay. I mean,
those are big things.
Those are very big things, and things that are not necessarily on the radar right now, but
yeah,
I like where this is headed for you.
Not even on the radar.
I like where it's headed.
Yes. This is a quick one. The last thing I saw, or there's other stuff, but this is the last one I'm going to mention. I have a North Node conjunct with Chiron. And so what this gives to is like, this person is going to create a way of life as a healer, initiator, spiritual teacher. And I'm like, oh yeah, I feel like that's very much in the vein of this, where the space that I'm moving in, like using those wounds, right? That's what, we do that healing work. We use the healing that we've done to then help others, right? That is the goal. And so I think that's very much, we talked about in our North Node episode that you start to really get into that activation towards the age of 40.
Yeah.
And so, this is going to be my 39th birthday next week. And so, I'm in that space. I'm in that frame of the North Node. And so I very much feel like I know my path. I know my purpose. I know where I'm going. And we're just, starting to move into that direction. And so it's like, it feels good. It's like, it feels very positive. Like I've been feeling this, like, I can't always describe the energy, but it's just like, I know things are moving in the right direction. It feels like I'm starting to be in alignment.
Yeah.
Even though, everything's not where I want it to be right now.
Sure.
Some other
We're
situations
still
that
working on
aren't,
it, but
yeah.
yeah.
But I'm like, I feel very much in tune and aligned with like where I'm supposed to be and where I'm going. And I'm like, yeah, I'm getting towards that 40 marker.
Yeah.
It's like it's all falling into place.
Yep. That feels good though,
So,
right? Surely, if like
yeah.
you're headed on a path that feels authentic to you, and like you said, knowing your purpose is kind of a big deal. I feel like there's plenty of people that get way past the 40 mark and are like still confused about what their life's purpose is, and I think that's a hard place to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And so look, I'm grateful, always grateful. And there's always parts that you're like, well, I don't know where this specific place is going.
What is
It's
this
like,
part?
but you know that overall path.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's like that healing, that spiritual teaching, like all of that has become so much more clear as I've gotten closer to this age that I'm like, yeah, this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Exactly.
And all this other stuff has like given me skills, given me knowledge and information that I needed to go on this path.
Yeah.
Even like art and creativity, like all of this stuff kind of comes together. And so it's cool to see it happen. Yeah. So I'm like, look at me, like
you're doing it
in my little space.
I'm so proud of my friend.
We're doing live. So that's just a little bit about where our years are headed. A little bit about our synastry, what our relationship looks like.
Keep listening to this podcast to see if it all comes true,
Yeah.
See how it all manifests for us.
See how it all manifests. Hello. So y'all, we're gonna get out of here. It is that time.
It's that time.
We've given you a nice long STS this time too. We're not usually.
I hope you made it this far.
This in depth. Yeah. So we you love it. You love it.
You like it. You love it.
We're gonna go ahead. Yes. Let you know where you can reach us. Because we know you're gonna want to come at us with your questions, your comments. Let us know your thoughts on these topics we've talked about today. If you want your own reading, you want to see, are you a Pisces? You got a solar return coming up. You want to talk about where your year is headed.
We'd love to interpret your chart on air.
To talk about it. Yes. So how you make those things happen is you email us at suchapiscespod@gmail.com. And that is spelled SUCHAPISCESPOD@gmail.com.
And as always, you can find us at Such a Pisces Pod on Instagram, on Facebook, on X, on Threads, on TikTok, all the places where there is social media. We are at Such a Pisces Pod. And if you haven't already,
and YouTube.
Oh my God, YouTube. How could I forget YouTube? We have a YouTube channel now. Please subscribe. Okay. And look at our faces. You can finally see what we look like. Maybe you've been listening to the podcast for a while and you've just like imagined what we look like. And now it's always a fun game to put a name to a face, And so
and now you can see us and you can see all those facial expressions that we like to make.
We can finally complete the circle of the parasocial relationship so you know what we look like. So go check all those things out. Give us a subscribe. Watch our videos. Give us comments. Tell us what you're thinking. Maybe leave us a little review here and there, if they're positive, especially. And we'll see y'all next week.
All right, y'all. Stay safe in these streets and protect your energy.
Seduce and scheme safely. Bye.
Bye. Peace, y'all.